All right, buckle up, history buffs, because today we're talking about the biggest navigational screw-up that somehow became a success story. Forget the fairy tales. We're unmasking Christopher Columbus. Most of you probably think he discovered America, a heroic journey, right? Wrong. He was actually just really bad at math. This guy, obsessed with finding a shortcut to Asia, genuinely believed the Earth was small enough to sail from Europe to Japan in a few weeks. Every smart person at the time, every actual geographer, told him, "Dude, that's impossible. The Earth is way bigger." But Columbus? Nah, he just knew better. He was so convinced, he practically begged for funding, promising untold riches and a quick trip. What he got instead was weeks of open ocean, a crew on the brink of mutiny, and the most awkward discovery in human history. He didn't just sail into the unknown, he sailed into a mathematical delusion, dragging an entire continent into his mess. This isn't a story of brave exploration. It's a tragic comedy of errors, fueled by arrogance and a truly terrible calculator. So, imagine being stuck on a tiny wooden box for weeks. No Google Maps, no Netflix, just endless ocean and the distinct smell of unwashed sailors and rotting food. Columbus's crew were literally counting the days, but not in a good way. They believed they were sailing off the edge of the flat Earth, which ironically wasn't true, but the starvation, disease, and the sheer mental torment of seeing nothing but water for what felt like an eternity, that part was very real. Morale was so low, they planned to throw Columbus overboard. Can you blame them? Their captain, this brilliant navigator, was basically telling them, "Trust me, guys, Asia is just over that horizon, probably." For weeks. He even had to fake the logbook, telling them they hadn't traveled as far as they actually had, just to keep them from completely losing it. So much for transparency. This journey wasn't about discovery, it was about survival, fueled by desperation and a generous helping of deceit. Then, out of nowhere, land. October 12th, 1492. A moment that changed history, mostly for the worse. Columbus, thinking he'd hit the East Indies, promptly called the inhabitants Indians. Because why not? Accuracy was never his strong suit. These were the Taíno people, a peaceful, vibrant culture suddenly faced with Europeans in shiny metal suits. Imagine the culture shock. It was like aliens landing on your beach, but instead of offering advanced technology, they just wanted your gold and your labor. Columbus, in his infinite wisdom, immediately claimed the land for Spain, despite it being perfectly occupied already. His journal entries quickly shifted from beautiful people to "they would make good servants." And just like that, the discovery quickly devolved into a full-blown exploitation. He hadn't found a shortcut to Asia. He'd stumbled upon a new continent and opened a Pandora's box of disease, slavery, and genocide. Truly a win for humanity. So, how did this hero end his days? Not with parades or endless riches, surprisingly. Despite his multiple voyages and the untold wealth he sent back to Spain, Columbus was eventually arrested for tyrannical misrule, sent back to Europe in chains, and stripped of many of his titles. He literally died thinking he'd found a route to Asia, not a whole new world. The irony. He died in relative obscurity and poverty, completely unaware of the true scale of his discovery. And yet centuries later, he's celebrated as this great explorer, a symbol of courage and pioneering spirit. What a load of BS. The real legacy of Christopher Columbus isn't about discovery. It's about the brutal collision of worlds, the beginning of colonialism, and a stark reminder that history is often written by the victors, no matter how misguided or brutal the initial journey truly was. So, next time someone talks about Columbus Tell them the real story, and maybe suggest he invested in a better map, or at least a tutor for basic geography. Thanks for tuning in to this dose of ReelTonic truth.